So I am working on getting Spike back. Sorry about that. I don't really know what happened. My internet just went out on me, and then everything went a little crazy. So I'm working on getting him back. Give me just 1 second. He's coming back. I promise. Thank you to everybody who is hanging out during this time period.
Hello?
Hey, sorry. I don't really know exactly what happened there, but something did. But yeah.
I think it was on your end because like the video stopped and everything.
Oh no, it was definitely on my end. All of the internet just stopped.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the internet just stopped. Apparently, Joe Biden did not like all the jokes. And that's too bad because we've got so many more.
Oh man, that sucks.
Yeah. But we're live again, so
Oh, we are live.
yeah, like we're just gonna have a blank spot in the middle of that video, I guess. I don't know.
All right, fine. That's fine.
So yeah, welcome back to everybody watching. But yeah, so like the Secret Service actually has this rule.
Well, here, let me share. Keep talking. I'm gonna just share this
Okay.
second one. Go ahead.
So the Secret Service actually has this rule called the Biden rule, and it was that yeah, he's gonna do this, he's gonna walk around naked. He's gonna walk around naked. So be prepared, be ready for it, and if you hear the code words, the Cobra is out. That means that Joe Biden is naked somewhere in the domicile, and if you're a female officer who may be offended by it, don't be there.
Yeah, I mean, unless you want to see Joe Biden naked,
right? In which case, be there. But so this was actually written up in an article. God, I wish I wrote this down. But the article's title was "Joe Biden got away with it for 4 years," and
right?
And it was all about his time as vice president, which he was vice president for 8 years. But the article came out while he was still vice president, about creepy things that he was doing and how he got the wonderful name of Cobra. But so as Joe Biden continues his excellent run.
Yeah, it's going amazingly so far.
Yeah,
it's really nailing it.
He's killing it. He is absolutely killing it. God, do I have to redo the? I don't know if I have to redo the chats. Well, looks like I have to redo the chats.
Yeah, you have to close it out and reopen it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Man, I'm not a robot.
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, me too.
So the thing with Joe Biden is he's still possibly the favorite to get the nomination because most people don't. This was a very interesting lesson I learned from the last election cycle. The reason that Donald Trump got the nomination had very little to do with him promising a wall. It had very little to do with him being a better alternative to the other people running. It was name recognition. People knew that Donald Trump was running. They knew that he was wealthy. They knew that he had a history of running stuff. And so they showed up and voted for it. They didn't know who Ted Cruz was. They weren't really following it. The vast majority of primary voters just didn't know or care. They weren't following it. So they showed up. Donald Trump? Yeah, that sounds good. And so they voted for Donald Trump. And then in the general, more of the same. It was Hillary versus Donald Trump. People were, I'll go with Donald Trump. Like, I mean, people are, for those of us who are, put it this way, for someone who's watching a political podcast right now or listening to this, for those of us who are more into politics, it's unfathomable to think that someone wouldn't know, like, that Ted Cruz killed all those people as the Zodiac killer. or that, whatever, like that, stuff about Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or whatever. I guarantee you the majority of Democratic primary voters have no idea who Kamala Harris is, and they have no idea who Cory Booker is. They
Right.
know who Joe Biden is, though,
Right.
and they remember him as Obama's vice president, who everyone loved. And so, barring the unforeseen, I think it's still possible he's going to get it.
You know,
Especially with so many people splitting the anti-Biden vote. You've got Kamala Harris, who's going to get a lot of the intersectional, I'm only voting for a woman and or a person of color vote. You've got, Bernie Sanders getting the hardcore leftist vote. You've got Corey Sanders not getting anyone's vote. You've got
Corey Sanders.
Liz Warren also not getting anyone's vote.
Who is Corey Sanders?
Booker. Cory Booker. Corey Sanders. You've got Corey Sanders is a boxer. You've got Beto O'Rourke getting the I like white guys who pretend to be Mexican and apparently can't ever just stand on the floor like everyone else. He has to be standing on a car or on a countertop.
Always holding one arm. One arm, always up.
One arm always up.
Right.
I saw a video where he's on a countertop and he kneels down so he can be near eye level with the people he's talking to. Get off the damn countertop.
Right, just step on the floor.
Like, you're a tall guy. He's like 6'2" or something. Like, you don't need to be standing up on stuff is for people with large crowds, which he is not, or shorter people, which he is also not. You've got 30 people there. You've got 500 people there. You can stand at the level with them and just whatever. So he'll get that vote. And Joe Biden gets the, I don't know who any of these people are, but I'm a Democrat, so I'm going to vote in the primary vote. And that might be enough to carry it.
It could be. My question, so a while ago, we were making very early on predictions.
Yeah.
And one of the predictions I made was that I believe that it was going to be a Biden-Tulsi Gabbard ticket. This may have been before you were a member.
You still think that? You still thinking that?
Could you imagine how creepy that would look? Like now?
Oh, that'd be a great campaign poster.
Right.
Is Tulsi Gabbard smiling and giving her college vest while Biden is also giving his college vest of, creeping on top of her and sniffing her head. There's a Photoshop meme to be made shortly after this episode ends.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about that earlier. I was like, man, if my prediction came true and it is Biden Gabbard, that would look so creepy now. Like, he's got to pick Cory Booker, or like, he can't pick a female. He would not be able to pick a female because then it would just, it would look bad. He would have to pick, like, potentially Buttigieg, because Buttigieg is gay. So he meets like the minority standard. So potentially Buttigieg, Cory Booker,
who's also gay.
He's not
going to tell anyone he's gay.
Right. Yeah. Other than that, I can't really think of it. Like, I can't really think of anybody else that is of that level, because I feel as though he's going to try to pull from the field.
Well, he floated that he was going to have either he or someone in his campaign floated that they were going to pick Stacey Abrams as his VP, which Stacey Abrams, for those who don't know, is the person who just ran for governor of Georgia. It was a very close race that Matt and I called weeks before it was official.
Right.
That Brian Kemp won that. He said that it was going to be Stacey Abrams. She came out basically saying, "Why are you dragging my name into this? How do you know?" Because she still possibly might be running too. That ought to be fun. For president, why are you calling my name out to basically unwhite man, yourself? So it's a very weird dynamic, but I still think he's going to get it. I think it's possible that someone else gets it, but the dynamic isn't. For the same reason I think Donald Trump's going to end up winning re-election, I think Biden's going to get the nomination. I think the I don't want to vote for Joe Biden in the same way that Hillary got it, because early on that was the anti-Hillary vote was split up until it was too late. To an even bigger extent now, you've got like 30 people running against Joe Biden, and he's just Joe Biden, and he has more name recognition than all of them combined.
Right.
More people know who he is than everyone,
Than the rest of the
other
field.
people.
Right.
So I still think he's going to get it. I may be dead wrong. I think he's either going to get it or he's going to fail spectacularly, and it's not even going to be close. I don't think it's going to be a close one for him. I personally think he's going to get it by virtue of the fact that everyone knows who he is.
Yeah. If he does get it, it's going to be that and that alone.
Right.
You put your hand over the thing, and I didn't know what it was. I was like, did he drop the phone onto his face?
Oh. Yeah.
Reminds me of a great joke, but I've got other great jokes that we're about to do, so I'm not going to tell that
right.
joke. So during all of my research today, because I was doing a ton of it, I was doing that all day long until I had to drive out to Tampa, which, if you don't know, Tampa is just awful. And I had to go out there and then turn around and come back, in which I started doing the notes. But I found a great list of campaign slogans that Joe Biden has reportedly rejected. So here we have the top 10 Joe Biden rejected campaign slogans. Or if David Letterman's about to sue us, the top 9+1 Joe Biden rejected campaign slogans.
Yeah, I hope that Letterman doesn't have the trademark for top 10. I hope that's not a thing.
I would hope not, but I'm covering my bases by calling the 9+1. So, number 10, forfeiting our civil assets together. Because he started the whole civil asset forfeiture thing.
Yeah.
Making America his personal pool.
Oh, the Cobra.
The Cobra, so he can be naked everywhere.
Naked at the
Be naked everywhere. Number 7. No, 8. Number 8. Hands across America.
That's my favorite one. I like that
did
one.
you read these?
Yes.
Okay. Number 7. Ask not what your conditioner can do for you, but how your shampoo smells to me.
This is a great Letterman, by the way.
Thanks. Number 6. I have enough Cobra for everyone. Number 5. I really should have numbered these instead of bullet pointing them. Number 5. Massaging out the knots from America's shoulders.
From behind.
From behind. Number
4.
Number 4. I just realized I cut one of them. Number 4. Putting your daughters to work. Yeah, that's a little sex trade joke that Joe Biden's going to be involved with Epstein. Number 3. I have Obama on speed dial, which is probably true.
That is absolutely true. It is the one non-sexual harassment one of all of these.
Well, the forfeiting our civil assets together is also non-sexual.
Oh, but I took that as a double entendre.
That also works.
Yeah.
Also works. Number 2, America's favorite touchy uncle. And the number 1 Joe Biden rejected campaign slogan, never out of touch.
That's a good one too.
Yeah.
My favorite one is the one that I said was my favorite.
Hands across America.
Hands across America. I love it. I love it. Make America uncomfortable on stage again. That's probably should have been on there. There's your 11th one.
One of them that I had, I will say here. I did cut it because I couldn't say it in front of my dad. Joe's going to go to Uranus not because you're easy, but because he is hard. Yeah.
I can see why he would reject that campaign slogan.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he definitely rejected that one. I feel as though it's a good call for him to reject every single one.
It was definitely a good call.
Definitely.
I think, you know, he knows how optics work.
He does.
And none of those were good for optics.
No.
So yeah, it is fun to watch. I think Alyssa Milano also defended him today. I didn't read that, but I'm sure it was amazing. But it's funny watching the Believe Women Me Too crowd have to really like say a lot of stuff they didn't want to say because it's Joe Biden. Now, again, for those who are anti-Joe Biden because he's more of a centrist, because of this is the guy, you know, who they give him a hard time because he was part of the panel that, you know, oversaw, you know, when Clarence Thomas was you know, up for his nomination to the Supreme Court, and the whole Anita Hill or Anita Baker? Anita Hill. Anita Baker is the singer.
Right.
Anita Hill thing, and everyone's mad at him, but I'm not sure why. He voted against Clarence Thomas. So I don't know if it was maybe he wasn't nice to Anita Hill or what that was, but that whole thing. So there's a lot of people who don't like Joe Biden. This will just give them more ammo to ultimately make people not vote for Joe Biden in the general when he's up against Trump, which will be fun to watch.
Right. I feel like we've successfully covered Biden.
Oh yeah. We have done to Joe Biden
what Joe
Biden does to women. We have completely run the entire subject into the ground.
That's right. A couple of things that we did miss from last week that I kind of did want to touch on real quick.
Okay.
Popular vote bills in multiple states where instead of going with the Electoral College, they're instead going to go with the popular vote. These states that have passed this bill are California, Washington, Colorado, Illinois, Maryland, the District of Columbia, not a state, I know, Delaware, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Jersey, and New York. Now, to put this in perspective, the members of Washington, Colorado, Illinois, Maryland, D.C., Delaware, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, and New Jersey just gave their entire voting power to California and New York.
And not just California and New York, Los Angeles and New York City. Like literally, so the popular vote, which by the way, there's a whole, many experts believe that this whole national popular vote thing, unless it's actually passed by a constitutional amendment, it's actually illegal because it amounts to an interstate pact that's outside of the federal government. I don't know all the details about that, but basically the long story short is that you can't have interstate pacts that are outside of the federal government, and that's what that would amount to. So anyway, so I mean, we'll see how that would be. It's one thing how it's written; it's another thing how justices would, you know, decide that. But a national popular vote essentially says we want all national elections to be decided by New York City, Los Angeles, Chicago, like Philadelphia, Boston,
Dallas,
and
here.
Yeah, and that's about it.
Yep.
And like that's really it. And it would amount to, it would change how campaigning was done. You would just have presidents would just hit those main areas. Every once in a while, they'd hit some like rural backwoods just to show how folksy they are. But for the most part, they wouldn't really. There'd be no concern for, or even a pretend to be concerned for, you know, rural people. Certainly not. The suburbs are not going to factor in. No one's going to care about the suburbs. It's going to be super urban for the actual vote and super rural occasionally to, you know, show how down to earth they are.
Right.
Now, as an anarchist, ultimately, they're really just pretending. But this is and it's all because they didn't like the outcome. So this wouldn't be a major discussion if Hillary Clinton had won the election
No.
and Al Gore had won the election. This is literally like, we don't like how the rules work, so we're going to change the rules. And this and term limits and all of these different things, they end up working out to an acknowledgement that voters can't be trusted and make terrible choices.
Which, okay, so that actually leads perfectly into my next thing.
Oh, good.
They're talking about lowering the voting age to 16.
Right.
The people that aren't old enough to drive in many states now. The people that
Right.
aren't old enough to buy a pack of smokes. The people that
Yep.
aren't old enough to die for their country. The people that aren't old enough to drink. The people that can't buy certain guns, or maybe all guns. I've never bought one. I don't know.
Depends on the state.
Yeah,
Most states, a 16-year-old cannot buy a gun.
Right. These are the people that are now responsible enough to make the decision on who is leading the nation.
Yep.
But they aren't responsible for making the decisions in their own life. And Nancy Pelosi says she always supported the voting age being 16, which I doubt it. I don't have any evidence against that. But if you're in a state that you have to be 21 to smoke, and you wanted that, where you don't give your people the ability to own firearms, which the Ninth Circuit just recently shot down, and that you literally want to take away like every single right that people have. You can't say that you wanted somebody that was 16 to be able to vote.
In California, you have to be 18 to consent to sex. And there are like people that have been charged as minors for having sex also with minors. I mean, that's how serious they are about it. But you can vote it. You can't have sex. You can't use your own body at 18, at 17, but you can vote at 17 or at 16. And this is at the same time that these are the same voters who are also voting to drive up the age to buy a gun to 21. And also, I think there was a state that just passed where they raised the age to smoke to 21.
There's a couple of states that are like that now.
So 5 years before you can smoke a cigarette, and in many cases 2 years before you can legally have sex, you can be voting.
2 years before you can be sent off to die in a war.
You can vote for who would send you, which is kind of nice. You know, you before they can send you, you get to start picking who it is. I mean, the whole thing is a farce. Like, and again, this is me going into an anti-democracy rant, but you're not going to configure things in such a way in which it's going to turn out well. Like you can't. In fact, if anything, you're just going to make it worse. If you make them younger, now they're going to make even dumber decisions because they don't even have any life experience. They don't have any, like their what is it? Prefrontal cortex isn't even developed, which it's developed enough for them to drive. We've largely decided it's not developed enough for them to make a lot of important choices, unless it's, you know, who is the person with the centralized ability to project violence on everyone and you know, run the military and all of these things. Like, it's absurd, but it's a bunch of people who want something to happen and believe that changing the rules and tipping the scales will cause it to happen.
Right.
The whole reason they want 16-year-olds to vote is because they see 16-year-olds protesting for climate change and for gun control. The reason they're doing that is because their teachers are telling them to, and because major media is telling them to. If and whenever that changes, now you're going to have a bunch of 16-year-olds voting for walls and war and you know, God knows what else. By the way, I was about to go off into a whole rant about the 19th Amendment, but I stopped myself.
I appreciate that. Man, I worked on...
Are you keeping the Letterman he?
He. I watched a bunch of Frank Caliendo videos of him doing Letterman earlier, and he was like, really, for Letterman, you just got to throw on like some random vowel at the end at high pitch, and you've got him. And I was like, oh, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while, you have to be like, I don't get that, Paul.
Oh, I'm Paul.
You're Paul.
I am. I'm not. I'm not bald. I should have worn sunglasses. You know, there was so much more I could have done.
Yeah, but
I'm here on the couch.
Yeah, I get it. And I mean, you would have wrote "It's Raining Men" if you were.
He wrote it. Paul wrote "It's Raining Men."
Yeah, he did.
Why would that? Is Paul gay?
I don't know. I've never asked. I don't think so.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. All right. So apparently, as I discovered Sunday, shortly before apprehending a thief, nearly single-handedly.
Nearly single-handedly. Yeah.
Nearly single-handedly. Well, I chased him through downtown until the police apprehended him, but whatever. The hip hop world has suffered a great loss.
Yeah.
Which I was unaware that this was a great loss, and I got some very angry messages about a status that I made. But the great Nipsey Hussle. Nipsey Hussle was murdered, shot down, gunned down in front of his clothing store in LA.
Yeah, and not just his clothing store. He actually owns the whole building.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole complex.
Right. My entire knowledge of Nipsey Hussle has now been wasted, so I will allow you to take over the rest of...
Yeah, so I actually found out Nipsey Hussle was murdered by reading your status. And I'm like... So I actually like Nipsey Hussle. Like I'm the resident person who listens to rap music on the show, and so I like Nipsey Hussle. He's like one of my probably top 10 favorite newer rappers. Because most new rappers are utter garbage, and he isn't. So by default, he's probably top 5 just by default of not being garbage. But he's a good rapper. If you're into rap music, then you'll probably like him. But he also has a very interesting story. So he is most rappers, the tragic comedy that most rappers experience is that they come from nothing, they get discovered somehow, they have a bunch of managers and hangers on who get all the real money while they get enough money to live a ridiculously lavish lifestyle that they eventually are no longer hot, and then they lose everything and end up poor because they didn't know how to manage their money. Nipsey Hussle actually has always managed himself. He originally put out a mixtape in 2013 called Crenshaw, and he was originally just going to put it out for free. And then he came up with the idea after he was reading a book about scarcity and marketing. He decided to instead release, only make 1,000 copies of them and sell them for $100 each. And it got all this press that he was doing it. And Jay-Z bought 100 of them, and Rick Ross bought some of them. And it gave him $100,000 to start his own label and career. And he just ran with it. And so he owns or owned all of his own music, which is very rare in hip hop. Like Jay-Z, I think, is the only other rapper I've heard of who owns all of his music.
Chance.
What's that?
Chance.
What's that?
Chance.
Chance?
Chance the Rapper.
Oh, Chance the Rapper. Yeah. He. I guess Chance does. I didn't know Chance did.
Yeah, Chance is completely independent as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's rare. I mean, most rappers are not, and that's where the real power is in having the streaming rights and the download rights and the syndication rights and all of that stuff. He owns all of that. he also has been outside of rap. He has a bunch of investments. Like we said, he owns the building that his clothing store was in, where he was killed. He owned he in that building. He had a co-working space that he was creating for young entrepreneurs in that part of LA. He had started a program called Vector 90, which was to support kids that are very bright that live in that area, that's a very poor area, connect with Silicon Valley jobs and STEM jobs. So he was an entrepreneur. He's very much into ownership and marketing and a lot of really libertarian things. Like when we talk about this stuff, he was actually, living those things. He was also rapping about, selling drugs and murdering people. So, I mean, and he does have gang ties or has had gang ties and things like that. So, I mean, it's not, like
if I'm correct, he was a Crip, correct? Or was he a Blood? He was a Crip.
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty certain I read he was a Crip.
It's one or the other, honestly. I mean,
right.
it's
LA, so.
Yeah, so it's one or the other. He's not a Latin king. So he, I mean, it's not out of nowhere that he was killed, but it's sad because he wasn't just a gangster rapper I mean, not that anyone should be killed, but he wasn't just doing that. He was actually trying to leverage his talent and what he was doing into something bigger. And to see that he gets killed, we don't know why yet, but killed by someone who knew him, who also was in a gang, is just really sad. And so the guy was apprehended, the person who killed him, which was not surprising. LA has CCTV everywhere. And a lot of the stores do as well, especially after the LA riots. Everyone has cameras. There's cameras everywhere. The idea that he was going to get shot outside in broad daylight and we wouldn't know pretty quickly was absurd. So his killer was. So when he was first killed, a lot of people started saying, "Oh, he was killed by the government because he was about to put out a documentary about Dr. Sebi and his ridiculous vegan diet that hasn't helped anyone." Is
that what that is? Like, I saw that he was getting ready to put out a documentary on Dr. Sebi, and that it was the cure for.
Which he's neither a Sebi nor a doctor. His name was Alfredo Bowman. He was not a doctor, and I don't know what a Sebi is. I guess he was a Sebi because he came up with it.
And
go ahead.
Nick Cannon is picking up the torch and carrying on with that documentary.
Oh, good. Has it cured Nick of his lupus, Nick? Anyway, so Alfredo Bowman, otherwise known as Dr. Sebi, came up. I'm going there. I have MS, so if it cures your lupus, let me know. I'll start eating strawberries too. I already eat strawberries. Alfredo Bowman was of the belief that disease was caused by mucus, and that we should avoid foods that cause mucus. He also was of the belief that black people had a independent had a genetic system that was completely different than all others, and that therefore they could not eat specific foods that I guess white people could. So like they shouldn't eat corn and all of these other things. His diet was contradictory. He said that you can't eat starch, and then he recommended a diet heavy in complex carbohydrates, which are starch. He said that you have to, this whole thing with you have to get alkaline. You don't want to eat stuff that's acidic. You want to get alkaline, even though your body tightly regulates your pH balance at 7.4. It doesn't matter what you eat. But he said you got to stay alkaline. But then he recommended a diet very heavy in citrus fruits and berries, which are incredibly acidic. And diet's garbage. People hang on to the fact that he was found not guilty in a Supreme Court of New York case. But what they don't focus on was the fact that they didn't prove that he actually helped anyone, because he was claiming that his diet cured AIDS and all of these other things. The reason that he was found not guilty was because the state never demonstrated that he had diagnosed anyone with anything, which is what was required to be guilty of operating a medical practice without a license. He never claimed to diagnose anyone. He would just say, "Hey, this cures AIDS." And people would come in and go, "I have AIDS." And he'd go, well, eat more berries and stop eating corn or whatever. And you can't eat meat because meat causes AIDS. But what did happen was the state of New York did say, hey, unless you can prove that this cures AIDS, stop saying it cures AIDS. And so he just stopped saying it cures AIDS. Guess why? Because it didn't cure AIDS. And so that's Dr. Sebi in a nutshell. And he died in 2016 because apparently he had eaten some mucus. I guess.
I was really hoping you were gonna say from AIDS. Like
that would be poetic justice. No, we don't know why he died.
I don't want people to die from AIDS, but I mean, I
was just snuck some corn in at the last minute.
Right.
It's just idiocy. And if you and God forbid you tell anyone this, they go, oh well, you know. Anyway, it is a stupid thing. It is. Hey, listen, if you want now, meanwhile, you can lose weight on his diet. Like it's not a bad diet in and of itself, but it's contradictory from his claims, and it doesn't cure disease. If you have AIDS, you should be taking antiretrovirals. If you have leukemia, you should be doing some combination of chemotherapy and radiation so that you don't die of leukemia. I have MS. I take a treatment. I also do a diet that helps with it, but it doesn't cure it. It doesn't cure it, and it doesn't claim to cure it.
For anybody that didn't see the first half of this show, that diet is apparently essentially salmon, avocados,
and avocado,
and sometimes strawberries or blueberries if strawberries aren't available.
Right. But the berries are more of just because I like them. The key parts of this life-saving diet that I will be doing a documentary on, if the white man doesn't kill me first, is the key parts are salmon and avocado. And Trump is threatening the avocado, so we'll see how that turns out.
He's not building a wall around Alaska, so you're going to be fine on the salmon.
I will be good on the salmon, and I'll have to find another nice fatty fruit to eat instead of avocado. But yeah, did
you say who it was that was arrested?
No, not yet. That's what I was about to say. So it turns out, guys, right under our noses all this time was a murderer. The LA police, LAPD apprehended Eric Holder. There's a name you haven't heard in a few years. Eric Holder.
He got the gun from
Fast and Furious.
Thank you.
We already knew he was running guns. This is Obama's attorney general, former attorney general under former President Obama. We already knew that he was smuggling weapons to the Mexican cartels. Maybe Nipsey Hussle was about to release a documentary about Fast and Furious. And Eric went, no, not on my watch. And so now you'd think as at one point the top lawman in the country that he would know that you can't kill someone in broad daylight in an area with lots of security cameras everywhere.
You would think as the former top lawman in America, you would come up with a better street name than Shitty Cuz.
You would think. One would think. Yeah. One would think that, but here we are. So Eric Holder will soon be, I guess, on trial. So good luck to Mr. Holder not being murdered in jail because you just killed one of the most beloved people in LA.
Yeah, from what I understand, and again, you're gonna know a lot more about this than I do. I just realized I have a pillow right here, just in case nap time ever hits me.
This is a pillow-heavy episode. We got the Pillow Brothers, yeah.
From what I understand from one of my friends who is a Nipsey Hussle fan, which, again, I had never heard of him until I read that headline and giggled profusely at the name Nipsey Hussle. Travesty that he died. But I never want anybody, I don't like it when people get murdered in the streets. Well, murdered in general. but
Murder in general, right?
yeah,
Right.
in general. But you know, like I was like, man, why are you gonna give yourself such a silly nickname, silly stage name? Because I want to feel bad for you, but every time I read Nipsey Hussle, I giggle. And he also found out from my status that Nipsey had passed away, and I saw him shortly after that, and he was asking me, he's like, man, is that real? And I was like, man, I don't. Is what real? And he was like, the status you made. And I said, yes, that is real. And he said, man, he's one of my favorite rappers. And I said, oh, I had never heard of this man ever before in my like, and that's not really all that surprising. There's probably top 10 rappers out there that I
there's a lot of rappers you've never heard of.
yeah, lots of them. I got Run DMC, Eminem, Jay-Z,
Yep.
50, Tupac, Biggie, and I'm really running dry. Like I'm running Luda, of course Luda, because he beat up Terrence Howard. Andre 3000 if he counts.
Yeah, he counts.
Okay, I'm not sure. Like Outkast, I know Hey Ya, because I'm white.
Yeah, I was gonna say if that would not be an example of rap.
Right. That's why I was
but,
I don't know if this counts.
Yeah.
But so like, and he was like, yeah, he's one of my favorite. And I was like, oh man, I'm really sorry to hear that. And then all night long, he just kept looking over at me, and he would smile creepily, very Joe Biden-y, and he would go, Nipsey Hussle, and I would just bust out laughing. And he, yeah.
And his real name is like Al Shaba Al Shabab or something like. His name is like.
His real name is, I mean, it is a cooler name.
Where is that even from? Is he like Mesopotamian or something? Like the name is like.
It is Ashdegam. His last name is Ashdegam.
Ashdegam, and his first name isn't any less odd. Like his whole name is
Emir.
It was names I had never experienced before.
Yeah, no, I don't want. Ermias Ashgadam.
As Ermias Ashgadon of presumably Babylonian. I don't even know what that. When I looked up like Ashgadon's surname to see its roots, it was just articles about Nipsey Hussle. So I think that name is also made up. I don't know, but so I mean he's never not had interesting names.
Yeah.
So he's
personally, I would have gone with Ashgadam instead of Nipsey Hussle.
Nipsey Hussle.
Just me. I'm not gonna lie. The angle that you are at right now gives you a mixture of, oh God, what's that guy's name? He's the guy that was in Band of Brothers, and he's in Billions, and he was in that show Life.
No idea.
Not Paul Giamatti.
Good.
Oh, you've got a mixture like Damian Lewis and Louis C.K. had a baby.
Ew. I hope Damian Lewis is an incredibly attractive man. Because,
he's a good-looking dude.
Okay, good, because the Louis C.K. kind of offsets that.
Yeah, he's a good-looking dude.
I've been told I look like Tony Stewart, the racer and murderer. And also that I look like
just evidence Wall's work.
Oh God, no, not the Dale Earnhardt thing. He Tony Stewart dragged a guy who was in one of those mud racers, and he dragged the guy.
Oh, did he? Yeah, I did. Yeah, I thought you were making a Dale Earnhardt joke.
No, definitely not. That's bad. What I did isn't.
I did.
And I was recently told that I look like Lance Armstrong, which I don't see. I don't see that. I don't see that. But anyway, so that's what I've been told. What on earth were we just talking about? Eric Holder has been arrested.
We've covered that. We're
Okay, good.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, so
Ashgadam. Ashgadam.
Asgadon. Asgadon. We don't know what that is, but yeah, he was a great rapper, and he also was a great entrepreneur. It's very sad that he struck down in the prime of his life.
And now I am as well. And well, I don't apologize for my Facebook status because it's still funny. I wish I could have gotten into his music before. It was cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, it still exists. It's funny. I went on to listen to one of his songs, and it now has like 50 million views, which I guarantee you it didn't before. It didn't have probably 5 million before that because he wasn't famous by any stretch of the imagination. He was definitely a rapper for people that were into rap, and now he's going to be mainstream. So anyway, so it's sad, but maybe it'll help his because he owns all the music, so maybe it'll help his charities or whatever. So we'll see.
He does have a child, so
Oh, good.
yeah. He was dating an actress, and he has a child. So at least he's got that child. I feel will be well off.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, that's all we got for today. Sorry
Cool.
about the hiccup there in the middle for everybody that was watching. If you want an unedited or a part where it's not cut in the middle, I'll put one of those together and put it on the old audio, and you'll be able to listen to the entire thing
on SoundCloud. Yeah.
Well, on iTunes or Spotify, not on SoundCloud. I mean, you can listen on SoundCloud, but we don't get paid that way. It's the only way we. It's the only way we don't get paid.
Listen to it on iTunes or Spotify
or Google Play. Yep.
Or Google Play
or Spreaker or Stitcher. Pretty much anywhere. Just listen to us anywhere. It really doesn't matter.
Be patient. Yes, it is. Be patient. So usually this is when we would talk about our upcoming episodes, but I don't have one.
Right.
Now, when I do come back, when I make my triumphant return, whatever that is, I will have in no particular. Well, my first guest will be Robin Kerner. He will have some very big news about something he's working on. I also will have Chloe Valderi to come on to talk about her program, The Theory of Enchantment. And I will have Lou Sander on to talk about the Midwest Peace and Liberty Fest. But I have no idea when those will be. I will be on this couch in the meantime. And then on Thursday,
okay, so first of all, again, going to say this again for anybody who wasn't around for the beginning of the show. I am going to be super loopy. Tomorrow will be the first time I am injected with drugs. Of course, these are going to be coming from a hospital, and I'm going to be put under. So I am going to be super loopy tomorrow, or on Thursday, I am certain, because I have a feeling that my body's not going to recover like it used to when I was injecting the drugs myself, because they're all amateurs over there. So I'm going to be super loopy, and my guest is Sarah Anderegg, a very dear friend of mine from Hawaii, who is also a podcaster and blogger, and just really an all-around wonderful human being.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice. And then on Friday, the ever-dependable Jason Lyon will have his show, Mr. America, The Bearded Truth. And then on Monday, again, Mr. America, The Bearded Truth with Jason Lyon. And then next Tuesday, obviously come back here to check us out, me and Matt, on the Muddy Waters of Freedom. We will parse through everything that happened this last week.
Yep.
And I will probably still be on the couch, but we'll see.
And remember that you can follow us on Facebook.com/Muddied Waters of Freedom, on Twitter You can follow us at muddied_waters on Instagram, at Muddied Waters of Freedom on YouTube. You can follow us at youtube.com/muddiedwatersmedia. And also, guys, if you're an audio listener, one, God bless you for being an audio listener. We don't use graphics. Like, you're missing out on some of our facial features, which, we feel bad for you there. But if you could rate us and leave reviews, because that makes it easier for other people to find us, and we need more. We want more people. We don't need anything, but
I don't need any of this.
I don't need any of this. But that allows other people to find us easier, and that's like you sharing the gift. That is Spike and Jason and myself, and you're sharing that with the rest of the world. So if you could just go on over to your favorite podcasting app and fill out a little review for us, that would be fantastic. And you can find this and every other episode on muddiedwatersoffreedom.com.
Give the gift of Matt and Spike to your closest loved ones today. So, guys, thank you again for joining us. We will see you again next week. And where we're going,
we don't need roads.
Wake up and see